Hey guys, welcome back into Legacy. We were having a conversation last night about different books we've read, and I started talking about some different authors that I had read that were kind of small name authors or small name books that don't get enough love from even from big authors, as you guys can see in the middle there. If you don't know who Graham McNeil is, he wrote a ton of 40K stuff. Uh, Excellent author, by the way, really good author. I think he's British. I'm not sure 100% on that, but he's a he's a really good author, and he's very famous for his 40K stuff. But he has written a lot of other stuff as well, if you're not aware. And one of the things he wrote was some Arkham Horror novels. I'm going to talk about them in a second. I'll talk about that series in particular in a second. That I've really enjoyed. I've read that series, and I really enjoy it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting assaulted by a cat. They knocked my headset off. Um, so, that being said, guys, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes today and talk about a few books, three books that I've read that are either like the big name authors that have written smaller books that not as many people have read, or books that are written by people who nobody really knows a whole lot about. One of them is actually a book I mentioned in my last video about authors, but I do want to talk about the actual book, which is Child of the Day, starred by Bryce O'Connor. And then the third is Fury from the Tomb by Stephen Sidor or S.A. Sidor. Um, Great authors, all three of them. Really enjoy the books. Um, I have actually, disclosure here, I've actually had some interactions with S.A. Sidor on Twitter, some back and forth with him. Super nice guy, very, 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 very smart guy. His previous work is mostly in horror and mysteries. Um, and Fury from the Tomb is a little different. It's part of a series as well. All these books are actually part of a series. I will foreclose. I have not finished the Wings of War yet. I do need to get back and finish that, but I'm currently in the middle of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn by Tad Williams, so I'm not going to go back and finish that quite yet. But I have read Child of the Day Star, which I really, really liked. I thought it was very well done. Um, it, I will say this: of the three, I would say Child of the Day Star is the weakest. Um, Not because it's bad, just because I think Sidor had more experience when he wrote Fury from the Tomb, and I think he really just honestly understands the kind of book that Fury from the Tomb is. And then Graham McNeil is just such a confident writer. I think you could literally ask him to write anything, and he can do it. Um, I really believe that about him. I think he's just one of those authors. You could ask him to write, children's literature, and he'd find a way to make children's literature good, really good. So that being said, guys, let's jump into these books, and I'll tell you a little bit about which it's about and what my thoughts on them are. And hopefully, by the end of it, you guys will have an idea of these three books. And if you guys have any ideas for lesser known authors, lesser known books, new, old, whatever, doesn't matter. Please, for the love of God, drop them in the comments. I am always happy to check out new books and new authors. That's how I've stumbled across a lot of incredible people over the several years I've been reading lots and lots of books. Even though I will also confess I've been reading a little less than I should lately. I'm actually forcing myself to get back into the habit of reading all the time. So, anyways, guys, let's jump in there with Fury from the Tomb. Uh, Fury from the Tomb. I'm gonna read the Goodreads descriptions here, guys, because I think that's the blurbs off of Goodreads. I think that's the best way to do it. Um, just so you know. And then I'll talk about how I view the books and everything else. So the premise for Goodreads is Saqqara, Egypt, 1888, and in the booby-trapped tomb of ancient sorcerer Ram, a young Egyptologist, makes a discovery of a lifetime. 5 copies in an eerie, oversized sarcophagus. But the expedition seems cursed, for after unearthing the mummies, all but Ram die horribly. He faithfully returns to America with his disturbing cargo, continuing by train to Los Angeles, home of his reclusive sponsor. When the train is hijacked by murderous banditos in the Arizona desert, who steal the mummies and flee over the border, Ram, with his benefactor's rebellious daughter, an orphan Chinese bus boy, and a cold-blooded gunslinger, must ride to Mexico to bring the living mummies back. The only mummies were the biggest problem. Um, Great book. Um, I absolutely enjoy this. This is a pulp uh, urban fantasy mix. Um, Very well told, not super long. Comes in at 448 pages in the mass market. It was originally published in 2018. Uh, it is super uh, competent as far as books go. like I said, it's part of a two-book series that he has openly stated to me. Like I said, in communications with him, he does not intend to write more of these books. I wish he would. I absolutely would eat them up if he did. The series is called the Institute for Singular Antiquities. Um, I absolutely enjoy and love them. They are uh, they're just really good books. They're simplistically put. They're some of the best books I've read in a long time. Um, uh, yeah. So what what I view with this book, and like I said, you can go off of the Goodreads, which is a 3.62, which puts it right in like middle grade of books. Um, if you're an honest God pulp reader, these books will be right up your alley. Its companion book, Beast of Nightfall Lodge, is really well done. The monster in this book is really cool. The banditos scene is really good. Uh, there's a twist with the banditos that turns out to be really cool. Um, his writing is very solid, very strong, very strong. I cannot stress enough how much I appreciate the fact that this guy writes in a way that does not come off as overly complicated or overly complex. The plot line is, while it's very detailed, is never so complex that it creates trying to think of the right way to hurt. It never creates undue pressure on the reader. You're able to follow the plot and the characters very easily. Um, Rom is actually a really good character. Starts out very naive, very grounded. Is exposed to some things that force him not to be that way anymore. All the characters in the book are great. Like I said, the monster's great. Absolutely, you will not regret if you pick this book up. You will not regret it. It is well done. It is a very particular type of book. Like I said, you're not going to get anything else out of me um, on that. It is not a it's not a book for everybody, of course, but it is a book for people who really like Indiana Jones and that type of adventuring, high flying action, shootouts. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. The tomb descriptions are very well done. His descriptors are good. He does a great job just conveying the horror that he's trying to get across. So that's really good. Fury from the Tomb. Cannot recommend Fury from the Tomb enough. I really cannot. The next book we're going to hit is Child of the Daystar. Um, it's a great book by Rice O'Connor. I want to say this might actually be his 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 initial books, maybe his first book. Um, it comes in about 282 pages. It was published in 2015. Like I said, it's from Bryce Connor. It actually has pretty good ratings on Goodreads. It's got a 4.11 on Goodreads. Um, it is pretty much straight fantasy. Um, I mean, there's nothing more to say about that. It is straight fantasy, and the main character is a he's like a dragonborn basically. He functions a lot like them. He's a dragon type lizard man with wings. The book explains why that's important. Uh, Apparently, being born into a society with wings is extremely rare, and it's really good. Let me read the the descriptor. Among the scattered fringe cities bordering the Cleanball Desert, the true name of the monster of Karth is spoken only in whispers. Raz Isil Aro, a sellsword of the Excalibur, Raz is a killer of paramount skill and highest regard, towering tall even among the Therian. He is the only of his kind to live free in the civilized confines of mankind's varied cultures. He has no need of loyalties. His sole affections pledged to the Golden Crown by his time and skills. Wed to his blades, Raz's only friends are the moon and her stars and the shadows they bring with the night. But Raz was not born to the mercenary's way, to the butchery and battle of day-to-day survival. Raz, like a sword, was hammered from steel and fire and ashy smoke, forged on the runes of an old life, and Raz knows who he owes this new path to, this cargway of blood and iron, the monster of Karth, after all, would never forget who gave him that name, and some debts can't be paid in gold. Um, like I said, it's the first book in a series. Have not finished the series. I'm going to be upfront about that. But the first book is really well done. Bryce O'Connor has written crafted a very good book. Roz is an amazingly, sorry about that, I forgot to set my phone to D&D. Congratulations, you guys probably just heard Dalek. Um, and Roz, though, is a great character, wonderfully built world. He spends a good amount of time kind of developing the world and the cultures in the world. You get a great feel for the culture of the world around this character. Again, written in a very straightforward way. The storyline is not complex to the extent that it requires you to really spend a lot of time trying to navigate it, but it makes it very straightforward. I am looking forward to finishing the series because I actually really like this book. He does a great job developing. He develops not just good characters, good culture. He actually develops a very good plot line. I will give the end of this book did to me feel a little abrupt, um, considering that it's going into a series. It felt a little more abrupt than I wanted it to, but that's okay. Because, like I said, I know there's four more books after this. Child of the Daystar was really well done, though. Um, I really think if you like the traditional epic fantasy, dragon creatures, assassins, that kind of stuff, this book will scratch your itch. You will not be disappointed in Child of the Daystar in any capacity. It is very smart book. It's very well put together. I think it's one of those books that people will overlook because you don't see it in public very much. You don't see it on shelves a lot. It is a book that you're going to find mostly on places like Amazon. You're not going to find Child of the Daystar in Barnes and Noble. You're not going to find it in most bookstores. So I stumbled on it when I was looking. I'm going to get a little secret how I find books sometimes, especially these little no-name authors. I'll go on Kindle and I'll look for deals for whole series from small authors, and I stumbled across the series for $20 for the Kindle copies. And there you go, all five of them for $20. So I got them about $4 a book. That is and I'm telling you, I don't regret it. The last book I'm going to talk about is Ghouls in the Miskatonic. Um, again, Graham McNeill is he's a well-known author. This book in particular, I, I don't really trust Goodreads ratings, so just so you guys know, but I'm going to tell you what it has. It has a 3.53, so it's considered just better than average by Goodreads readers. It comes in at 336 pages and was published in 2011. It's part of the original run of the Arkham horror books. They kind of took a break and they restarted them. There's a whole thing behind that. I have several of the new ones. I've never been disappointed by one of the Arkham horror books are actually really good. They really do feel like Lovecraftian Cthulhian horror. Okay, go ahead and let me get this blurb, and then I'll talk about the book and how much I like it and why I like it. It's the roaring 20s, time of jazz, gin, and G-men, but a shocking murder has upset the tranquility of Arkham, Massachusetts. When the mutilated body of a student is found on the grounds of Miskatonic University, the baffled authorities struggle to determine who or what is responsible. When two more students go missing, and it is the work of the same killer or something much darker. While Miskatonic Professor seeks answers to the ramblings of an insane former colleague, nightmares of a terrifying sunken city plague his most gifted student. Meanwhile, a down-on-his-luck reporter trawls the dark underbelly of the town for clues, while a bootlegger escapes a deal gone horribly wrong in possession of a strange, otherworldly device. Now these unlikely investigators must come together to face horrors beyond comprehension as they seek answers to a mystery that threatens to destroy all they hold dear. Ghouls of the Miskatonic's first novel, The Dark Waters trilogy by New York Times bestselling author Graham McNeill. Okay, great book. This is probably shorter than the other two as far as time-wise. Uh, Wonderful book, great Cthulhu history, feels very Lovecraftian. Um, it does not now because it is part of an actual trilogy called The Dark Waters. It does not have a direct ending. The ending to this book is actually going to be the end of book three, which is the Dwellers in the Deep, which is the third book. I'm sorry, Bones of Yopai is the second book. Um, and But it's a great book because it is a good author. It is a guy that knows how to write. Is a guy that's very well established in the community and the fantasy sci-fi community, and he's writing a horror book that really focuses down on Arkham. Uh, for for the first time with the Arkham horror books, we actually have a series of books that focuses down on the weirdness in Arkham. Uh, this trilogy in particular focuses down on a particular item, particular device that can end the world because it's Cthulhu, and of course it can. Um, but it absolutely feels very similar to reading uh, Cthulhu mythos stories that were written earlier. He does not miss the beats. The beats in this book are really well done. You get a lot of experience with characters that you may even be familiar with, like the professor they mentioned is Armitage, Professor Armitage, who um, he's a great author, a great character. He originally shows up in, I believe, he might originally show up in Call of Cthulhu, is where he might first show up. Can't remember what story he first shows up in. But he shows up in Lovecraft himself's work, and he's actually really well investigated in this book series. He gets a lot more fleshing out. You really get a feel for the character. The characters themselves are all pretty well developed, pretty well thought out. Um, to be short, they feel like people that you could actually meet in the real world. So, great book series, does a great job of doing Lovecraftian horror, Lovecraftian mystery, without um, being bogged down in antiquated language. Which there's a lot of common complaints you kind of hear about reading Lovecraft and the people around Lovecraft. There was a lot of antiquated language, a lot of over description, things like that. There's a lot of problems with writers from the 30s. When you get paid per word, you tend to use a lot of words. That's just how that was, you know. So Robert E. Howard and those guys all used a lot of words, and Lovecraft did too. So, but the idea being, this book does a great job of really telling a Cthulhu story in modern parlance without losing the feel of being Cthulhu. And because it's set in the 20s, you know, you kind of know what you're getting. You get the feel of the mythos from the 20s. You feel like you're part of, you know, you feel what Arkham is. You feel how the police force feels when weird things happen. You feel how the people of Arkham view these weird events. It's just a really good book. And like I said, Graham McNeill being Graham McNeill, the book itself is just well crafted, well thought out, well put together, and is worth a read. The series is worth a read. Um, and I honestly would say the Arkham horror books themselves are worth a read, both the originals and the new ones. They're all worth a read. They're not something that's bad. But like I said, guys, if you have any other suggestions, please drop them in the comments. I'm happy to check out new authors, new books, new reading selections, new everything. Um, all that being said, we do hope you guys have fun, and we do hope to see you guys around the game table at some point.